I came across some information the other day on Duran Duran, and it had to do with that unreleased album that everybody talks about called Reportage. And it really got me thinking. So I started looking a little bit deeper, and guess what I found? Hey everybody, welcome back to Red Mug Music. Very glad you could be back with me today. And if you heard the intro, you are just as excited as I am, even though you don't really know what's going on yet. And I probably don't really either. But like I said, I was, just snooping around the internet the other day, and I came across some information and made me go, what? And it had everything to do with reportage or reportage. And reportage, if you don't know, is an unreleased album that was recorded between Astronaut and Red Carpet Massacre. The album never got released, and the rumor is the reason why it never got released. Now, if you also may know or may not know, I'll let you know if you don't, Andy Taylor, the guitarist, he quit the band during the recording of Reportage, and people are saying it's rumored to be that he is holding up the release of Reportage, and that's why they never released it. So let's explore everything we can find out about Reportage, and let's find out what happened. So to describe this album with everything that I found so far, I know Roger Taylor said that in some ways it was to pay homage to the Roots as a band. And it was a lot more direct, and it would be a return to the dance and new wave origins that they started with. Nick Rhodes said it had a very edgy approach, and but it was a very angry record, and it was quite political, which I think for the most part Duran Duran kind of stays away from. But what happened during this time, this is around 2005, 2006. During this time, the current climate had gotten under their skin, and it reflected in their music. So they really just didn't have a choice, or they couldn't help but all this that they were feeling just kind of came out in their music. So that's what is on Reportage. John Taylor said that this album sounded very natural, and it was very guitar driven. So it was like a rock album, which I know in my previous albums or videos I've done before, we've talked about how Duran Duran does a really good job with like the rock songs, that they should have a rock album. It sounds like Reportage is going to be that. So here's the story of Reportage per John Taylor. They'd been on the road with the reunion tour for a couple of years, and they were feeling pretty confident. And they felt like they're themselves again as musicians. So they were quite excited to get off the road and start writing and recording straight away. Their confidence was such that we felt we didn't need a producer. We could just make all the decisions ourselves. I don't think that's really worked out for them. So we wrote songs quite quickly and really felt that we had an album. And per Andy Taylor, John was taking control during the recording sessions and the writing sessions. He quoted, "We did some recording in February 2006, and this time John seemed more determined than ever to take role of producer." So maybe John Taylor wanted to pretty much produce this album himself. I mean, he probably had some good ideas.
When we begin writing, we have no idea where we're going. We just get in a room, plug in, and see what sound comes out when we all start playing, which can be pretty horrendous. But we've got 10 pieces of music that are, aside from lyrics and a few overdubs, pretty close to completion. So it's been very productive for us. With Astronaut, it was very much a studio album. This is an album made after a band's been playing live a lot. So it really has recaptured a vitality. Writing is actually my personal favorite part of the whole process. It's pretty terrifying actually when you think about it, that I've been sequestered for over 2 weeks with 3 Taylors and a Le Bon.
So after some mixing, Duran Duran took the album to Sony Records. That's who they were with at the time. Sony ended up rejecting this album. It was a rough mix of the album due to having what they said no radio singles. Actually, they could hear a second single and a third single, but the problem is they couldn't hear that first single. Sony wanted to do something a bit more pop and asked if Duran Duran would be interested in collaborating with Timbaland. So in 2006, Duran Duran teamed up with Timbaland in New York and started writing and recording new tracks for Reportage. The combination of the two styles of music created the notion that you can tell that another hand was in those songs for sure, per Nick Rhodes. There was a contrast between the two styles, but Nick explains that Simon would be the glue that held the two styles together, and I believe that. So to summarize what he said, after they recorded the initial songs, because they had a bunch of songs, they went and started recording music with Timbaland to kind of fill in the gaps. But the problem was the two styles of music were vastly different. So that's where we are at this point. Now, after recording these songs for Reportage, I think before they went to Timbaland, these are the songs that they recorded, and these are the working titles that has been mentioned by the band and like other reliable sources. The first title is called Criminals in the Capitol. This is about dueling leaders on both sides of the Atlantic, and the track has a guitar that's very edgy and rocks the song per source. Another song is called 48 Hours. This is a reggae-inspired song, considered one of the best Duran Duran songs they've done in a long time per Simon. He thought this is one of the best songs they have done in a long time. And an insider that actually heard the song said that the song belongs on a Led Zeppelin album. How exciting is that? So, damn it. We got a song called 48 Hours. It's like a reggae-inspired song that Simon thinks is basically one of the best songs they had put out in a long time. And somebody else that just heard the song that's not in the band thinks it should be on a Led Zeppelin album. Like, I want to hear the song so bad. Another song is called, I always mess up saying this, Transcendental Mental. It's a weird, I hope they don't end up with that name in the end. This is about New Age frauds, people that are frauds in the New Age, and deemed the funniest Simon lyrics in years. He always has that one song per album, doesn't he? According to someone that got a chance to listen to it, that worked at EMI, says it's basically Careless Memories meets The Wild Boys. So imagine those two songs kind of mixed together, and that's what the song sounds like. Another song is called Traumatized, and I'm reading my notes because I just learned about all this, so I had to write it all down. Traumatized. This was considered to be not so strong lyrically, but it had a fantastic melody, which I'm good with. I like a good melody. It had a rawness captured from their first album, so it's the same kind of rawness that they had at that point, so that's cool. And a big chunk of the song is just Simon and an acoustic guitar, so I guess that would be Andy Taylor and Simon.
We shut ourselves away in a very nice house in a beautiful part of the world. I always work better with a bit of sunshine getting into my brain. We really have nailed 10 pieces of music. I've got lyrics for some of them. They've all got melodies. They've all got great rhythm sections. The rhythm is very, very strong, very natural, very powerful, very raw sounding. We wanted to recapture the sort of the rawness and energy of our first album. And I think we've got it with songs like Traumatize and Nobody, which are working titles, obviously.
And a guy who heard the song, and a lot of this information I'm getting is a particular person that was able to hear this music and shared it with a friend of his, but wasn't able to share the music. He was just telling this guy what he thought about it. So this is where I got some of this information. He said that Traumatized could be a lead single, and you won't be able to get the song out of your head whatsoever. So this may be the song that Sony Records thought was maybe a second or third single. Another song called Nobody, per Simon, he wanted to recapture the rawness and energy of their first album with this song as well. So it sounds like they really wanted to go back and just get that same feel from previous albums. I would imagine since Duran Duran, they had an album, went back on the road, they were just starting to feel like themselves again, like I said earlier, and it was just kind of bringing those old memories back, and they just wanted to kind of get back in those glory days and just recapture those memories. And I mean, I got a feeling Reportage is going to be a fantastic album when we ever get to hear it. Another song's called Under the Wire. This one was considered, I like this, noisy and aggressive by John Taylor, and Simon sounds nasty and cool. It's a song about alienation, if per John, but that's only if John is understanding Simon's lyrics, and we all know that Simon tends to kind of get a little nuts with his lyrics. Here's another track called Judy, Where Are You? This one's kind of sad because it's a friend of theirs from New Orleans that went missing after Hurricane Katrina, so that's not good. The song is said to be beautiful, drawing inspiration from the Kinks, if you know them, per Nick Rhodes, and sources say, I don't know if this is true, but sources say Kim Kardashian actually sang backup vocals, and it actually kind of worked. I didn't know she sang. If you knew Kim Kardashian sang, let me know. In this song, he said that it's basically Seventh Stranger meets Planet Earth at a bus stop in Toronto. I don't know what that means, but it sounds really funny to me, so it's the Seventh Stranger meets Planet Earth at a bus stop in Toronto. I have no idea. Another song, this one actually kind of excites me. It's called Naomi Tonight. This one was said to be a banger, so just probably very rock-driven, very guitar-driven. And this would be a song that you would start a concert with, so maybe it's anthemic. And I don't know. That's pretty cool. I'd like to hear that one. Another song, Angel Fire, was said to be the chauffeur all over again. This guy that heard it said he was kind of surprised to hear a song like this that sounded so much like the chauffeur, because he didn't think that Duran Duran would redo a song. I guess he felt like it was a redo of it, but I don't know. Other songs that I really couldn't find any information on is another title called You Ain't Fooling No One, another one called Cathedral. Faster is another name. Finally, Lions and Wolves, scroll down here, Midnight City, and Under Snow. And you have to remember, these are working titles. These may not be the titles that will end up the actual titles, because they may add some lyrics or take some lyrics away, and it could alter what they call it, but these are the working titles so far, and they're registered under these names. So let's talk about the Andy Taylor factor, because that's the one that I find the most interesting. According to rumors spreading around the time of this album, especially on like Femboards and various websites, Andy was feeling unhappy about this new scenario. In 2006, when Duran Duran teamed up with Timbaland, Andy never showed up. And after a month, it was announced that he had left the band. So basically, Andy and Duran Duran parted ways. They just weren't able to do it anymore. According to Andy, it was due to the tension and lack of direction during the session. So he just really didn't agree or like anything that they were doing. He mentioned the music was submitted to Sony prematurely, even though he thought the album needed some more work, so he didn't think it should go yet. Yeah, he may have been right. So after parting ways with Andy, the band soon decided to abandon all of the reported songs and further explore their new musical direction with another guitarist that we all know named Dominic Brown on guitar, and Danja producing and co-writing. John Taylor was quoted as saying, "We were kind of coming to the decision that we were going to just let all that music go, and we were going to let go of all the songs that we've been working on for months and months. We were moving forward and creating a new identity." As Rhodes commented later, "Our sound exploded with pop culture's brightest flowers." I can hear him saying that. "The vision became clear." So it sounds to me as though Andy Taylor was not holding up the release of Reportage, with him taking off. When they started recording songs with Timbaland, there was like I said earlier, there was a vast contrast between these songs and the new songs, and it probably just didn't sound right together. So they thought maybe they were onto something, and they would go in this new direction and basically just shelf Reportage altogether and just let it go. I mean, I can imagine, after Andy left, I remember hearing Nick Rhodes saying, basically after Andy Taylor left, peace broke out. And I think it was a really good time for them. And it was something that they could just kind of take a deep breath and just be like, all right, now what? Let's make something. Let's do something. So the question, the burning question is, will Reportage ever be released? Although John Taylor called it our misunderstood masterpiece, which I thought was brilliant, Reportage has not been released, and none of its songs have ever been performed live, which is crazy. No recordings are known to have ever leaked, aside from a few brief studio session clips that were posted online. And I think I found those, and I'll insert that right here. According to Duran Duran, they hope they actually eventually release Reportage, which will be the last album featuring Andy Taylor. So we might hear another Andy Taylor album after all. Nick Rhodes thinks it's a very interesting record. It's more edgy with the indie rock sound going back to their earlier roots, as we discussed. And Nick also said that he's very, very proud of these songs and he wants people to hear them. So as part of their deal with the new record label BMG, and that's the record label they just released the album Future Past with, Duran Duran hoped to release Reportage. Nick Rhodes told Classic Pop Magazine just last year in 2021, it's in pretty decent shape overall. We just need 3 weeks to finish it. And he said, I would have no objection if Andy Taylor wanted to come back and do some tweaks. When I found all this information, and it took a while to compile all this and put it together, I got super excited. It's a rock album by Duran Duran, which I've been pretty much kind of wishing would exist anyway. So in my opinion, I don't think it's going to be long before we hear this album. I think they wanted to get through Future Past, get all those singles out, and just kind of ride that wave while it's high. I really think they're going to get right back to this Reportage, and I think they're going to get it released. So if it comes out this year, I wouldn't be surprised. If you know something different, comment down below. Let us all know. If you know anything about Reportage, if any kind of website or interview, I mean, I couldn't find all the information in the world. But I did scour a lot of it to try to find what I found here. But if you know anything different or more, or, something that would be promising, or, maybe squashing the idea that this album's coming out, comment down below. Let us know. I think we would all want to hear this. So I'm excited, and unless one of you mess it up. So anyway, that's what I found out about Reportage by Duran Duran, and I'm excited. So if you want to hear this album, if you're ready for it to come out, comment down below and let me know. Follow me on Instagram at RedMugMusic. Follow me at Twitter at RedMugMusic. If you like this kind of content, give me a like. Like the video. That would be very supportive of you. I would really appreciate that. And if you do subscribe, I don't usually push for people to subscribe, because if you want to, you will. But if you do subscribe, make sure you click on that bell. That's the important part. Subscribe only if you want to, but if you do, make sure you do that bell, because if you don't, a lot of channels that you subscribe to still don't show up in your feed. I didn't know that until last week. So make sure you click on the bell so you get these, you get a notification whenever a new video comes out. So, well, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. See you next time.